We are live. Yes, we should be live. Things are happening. Of course, it's showing me the wrong screen. I don't like. Well, we'll see if we get anybody watch this load of rubbish. I'm going to eat my dinner on a live stream. Suddenly, I'm not feeling very confident about it, but I'm hungry. Could be a problem with this microphone. Yeah, I'm going to do one of the most stupid things I've ever done in my life. Welcome, Rug Munchers. This is Rug Munching with Rob. I'm sat on my rug, which you can see just about there, and this is what I'm going to be eating. It's a rather nice luxury tikka masala or something that I got from Aldi with some cucumber. I suspect the chance of anybody watching this will be 0, but the beauty of the internet is that you can have a program idea, and in the space of 2 viewers show, in the space of 2 hours, which is what I did on the way to the shops, I thought, rug munching, yeah, rug munching. That's what I want to do. Rug munching with AmigaRob. And I've already got titles. If you missed those who've come in, you missed the titles. Hang on. They're not that spectacular, but you know, I knocked them up. You see, they're titles. They've got the logo on. You don't have to commission it. I don't have to send it off to anyone. So yeah, you missed what I'm having. It's just Aldi curry, and I've got some salad also from Aldi. It's only lukewarm now, and also I've got a little bit of naan bread. They seem to have shrunk. I meant to pick up 2 curries. I was going to have 2, but they've shrunk them down, these curries as well. So oh, this naan bread is nice. Bilash. Alright. Cucumber, healthy option. Thank you, Batfink. Yeah. Hope you're alright, mate. Not very well centered. So, I heard about this mukbang. Oh, my eating's going to be disgusting on the mic, but that's what it's about. I heard about this mukbang thing because I was just looking around on oh, I feel really self-conscious. Good man. I was watching just looking for live videos, just for getting ideas for doing live stuff, and there's a girl actually I'm subscribed to, a Songbird, I think she is, and she was just eating a meal in front of the camera, and I thought, that's a bit crazy, and then I looked into it, and this is a whole thing, and apparently it started in Korea, where people sort of felt lonely eating by themselves, so they go looking for videos of other people eating, which is how each their own. But then I wasn't really thinking about doing it, but then the title the title got into my head. I kept thinking, yeah, well, as I was out, I thought I wouldn't do that, would I? I wouldn't do rug munching. I wouldn't do rug munching with AmigaRob, and yeah, here I am. I'm doing rug munching with AmigaRob. Because I'm like a walking, talking, carry-on film. Oh, that's the oven clock just stopped. Alright, I'm just gonna grab this. Oh, I don't think I updated the Twitter, so I've no idea what's got posted out there. You got some Hunter's chicken in the oven. Well, you can then join me. We can have a proper mukbang. There's 7 people watching this. Oh, it's crazy. Interesting though, because I've done some videos recently where nobody's watched. I tried another. I'm very much into experimental things. Well, I say that just trying to make myself sound like an artiste. But the other night, oh, a bit of food creeping up my lip. The other night I did a video when I was just trying to keep awake, and I was genuinely falling asleep, and it got to the point where I thought, oh, I am actually going to fall asleep on camera, and I just stopped myself, and then I said, right, that's it, I've got to finish. But I was I was talking about what I was thinking, and I was sort of catching that bit just as you get to dreams and your thoughts start going a bit strange. Um, well, to be honest, my thoughts are strange most of the time. So, right, I'm just gonna make sure we got. Have I done this right? No, I wanted that to be on like that, and then we wanted to do that. I'm going to post that. So we'll see what happens with that. Oh yeah, that's right, I'm talking to you people. Careful of carpet burns, that's right. Hello Jonas, I hope you're alright there, mate. Yeah, this is getting really cold, this, you know. I have eaten on camera before. That's funny, my thing's still showing 0 viewers, but I know there's 3. Can't see any warnings, so that's good. I've eaten on a stream because I got caught out when wasn't that thing updating? Update. I got caught out when I did an unexpected stream when I was in the middle of making my dinner a few weeks ago when I took over from Zoostaz. I was munching all the way through that, which was pretty gross. But to be fair, I've done quite a lot of eating on my channel because I eat on my channel intro as well, and there was really no pressure to eat on that. I was just in a mood. Wolf Cop is on telly. What's Wolf Cop? I'm a really disgusting eater as well. I like a channel. It's a channel I like. The Bad Movie Reviews. Fanboy Flicks. He goes through all these awful films, and he but he does. He's really, yeah, it's quite good. I enjoy that channel. It's one of those channels you just enjoy watching. See, normally these things are packed with meat, and there was about 5 bits of meat in this. This is not really even a snack. Forgetting about my naan bread. There's not really much sauce either. I eat like a real pig. 3 viewers. I thought 7 was a little bit much. This is more of what I was thinking we'd get. So what's been happening with everybody? Batfink, have you been using your supersonic thingy or your wings? Like that are like a shield of steel. This should be one of my favourites, Batfink. This is the greatest video I've ever made. Got a like though, superb. Is it showing the correct viewers on? Yep, 3. These are really nice, these naan breads. Got a nice taste to them. My wings are like a shield of steel. I used to do that when I was little. Although I used to say, my wings are like a shield of steel. I think Batfink was quite a weird little production because I think it was only a small production house. But I remember when I remember when the Powerpuff Girls came out. I thought they're basically here's supersonic radar, and he'd go meep, 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 and the words would come out and go to whoever he needed to call to help him out or whatever, or they'd go and do something quality. Yeah, I remember thinking that Powerpuff Girls was like it was very much like Batfink, and they had a character on that called Mojo a Go-Go or Mogo a Jojo or something. Where it was, I thought was straight out of Straight out of Batfink, really. This is it. Beep, 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 beep. So I take it, Batfink, you're quite a fan of Batfink, then? Would be my assumption. I've been making loads of videos this week, but not on this channel. Well, I made a few. I made a video yesterday on one of my other channels. It was an hour long, just talking to camera on an intellectual subject. Finished the video, no sound. Alright, I just had to do the whole thing straight away. So Jonas, not much happening here. Just relaxing on the couch most days. Sounds alright to me. Did order a steel door instead of the the one that his apartment came with. Bit of noise from the stairs, eh? I'm quite lucky in my apartment. I've got quite good separation for the sound. I'm eating the salad with my fingers because I'm an animal. Steel door. Does that actually... Oh, I've got 2 likes now, thank you very much. Does a steel door actually... Or is it steel? Or is it like steel with a wooden... Not a laminate exterior. Paul Furlong, hello, good evening. Dear boy, hope you are well. I'm in the middle of eating my dinner, which is this, just to let you know. Did I say Paul? Oh, sorry. I do apologise. Patrick. That's because there's a player that used to play for Watford. Thank you for the like. There's a player that used to play for Watford called Paul Furlong, and he used to really annoy me. Sorry, not that you annoy me. I've got it in my head. Sorry, mate. Are you going to do Dizzy tribute? Oh, yeah, you were saying about that. Yeah, I hope it all goes well. They've had a Dizzy display up at the National Arcade place around the corner from me a while ago. It's an all-steel security guard. The superintendents all have them and love them, and you hope it's worth the 1,500 quid. So do I, mate. I'd like to see someone get through a 1,500 quid door made of steel. Are you hanging it yourself, or are you getting someone to do it for you? The doors are something I can't do. Not that I was offering to do it. Keep forgetting about this naan bread, and it's starting to go hard now. Definitely could have done with 2 curries in this thing. Grand on the car. I've still got 200 quid to go for my rubber balloon. Good man, Patrick. Good man. Then he said Paul again. Good man, Patrick. What are you using to edit it? My editing system of choice is Sony Vegas. Someone comes and installs his door for him, and that's good news. Oh, I've forgotten something. Bear me for one moment. Because when we reach a certain age, we all have to take our pills when we have our dinner, don't we? Patrick, are you using a laptop which is now I'm falling apart running Adobe Premiere Pro? If anyone's interested, they're my pills. Fultium D, vitamin D, because I have chronic vitamin D deficiency. My body is unable to absorb it, and so I have to take it manually. And it floats around in my body until I piss it out, which is rather rapid, so I have to keep taking them. That's why I've got such a youthful, healthy complexion. I was rather But if you're not doing much effects, you might not need a new laptop to edit it. Right, Jonas says you don't get enough sunlight. Jonas, are you actually Scandinavian of origin? I know I've asked you, and you told me that your name is not real there. Because I've got a Scandinavian bloodline, and I do wonder if this thing, because this condition I have is quite it's one of those things that seem to be in the process of being documented. It took ages for me to get diagnosed. Fixed so many problems. Yeah, you're from Denmark. I think this is a problem that originates. Apparently. So what happened with me was, I was having problems for years. I wasn't really getting properly rested, and I had really bad anxiety problems that got worse and worse and worse. I was managing better and better with worse and worse problems, and eventually a doctor said, "Oh, well, we'll do some blood tests," and I said, "Oh, come on, this I get to the bottom of my problems," because I'd actually got so sick at one point. I think I said somewhere I was actually like my insides were bleeding. I was bleeding into my bladder, and that sort of got resolved. Something burst and Christ knows what. But anyway, they tested my they finally tested my vitamin D, and they couldn't detect any. It was below the detectable level. He said, "Well," I said, "Well," he said, "AmigaRob, thing is, when we do a vitamin D test, we rather like it if the vitamin D is sort of around the 20 mark is the sort of minimum. It's actually now gone up to about 30 they want minimum." And I said, "Oh, right." And he said, "Well, yours is under 12. And I said, "Oh, well, 12, that's not too bad. That's only 8 off. That's halfway the minimum. Well, we're somewhere to aim for. Get out in the sun a bit more." And he went, "No, 12 is the minimum level we can detect. So it could be, well, close to 0. So, and then I sort of had originally accusatory sort of fingers pointed at me that I wasn't eating properly, which went really well down really well with my then partner. Who took it as a personal insult and then sort of started arguing with my doctor. Great. And then anyway, they put me on like a course of vitamin D, which brought it back up, and they could test it and it had gone up, and then it went. They just said, "Oh, it's a one-off thing to get you back where you need to be," and then it just plummeted down again. And after about another 2 years of messing around, I actually saw a specialist, and he said, "Oh yeah, there is a proportion. It appears because normally the people that have low vitamin D are like Muslim women that wear full head garb, and then they come to a country where the sun is not as intense, and they're wearing the full gear." And they never get exposed to the sun, so they don't generate it naturally. He said, but there does appear to be a minority of very fair-skinned people, and you can see I'm a very very fair-skinned person, that just do not. They're normally the easiest group to produce vitamin D because the sun hits them and they're vitamin D, vitamin D. He said there does appear to be a group that just can't retain it because there's a certain mutation or whatever, and I suspect having Scottish and Scandinavian ancestry, that's where this problem comes from. And I've also got a bit of Irish ancestry. As you can tell. It's usually a Burke-related problem, yeah. Yeah, but you might not ever go out, but the actual, at one point, the guideline was that if you went out for 20 minutes in the summer sun in the UK, then that would be sufficient for like a year of vitamin D production. So, do you know a bit about Frank? So, and what happens is, what happened with me, and if you've had low vitamin D, you might have noticed this, Jonas. But there's a thing called parathyroid hormone. This was the thing that was causing me anxiety problems. As my vitamin D was going down, your parathyroid hormone starts reacting. Your parathyroid gland or whatever, it starts chucking out parathyroid hormone. And in my opinion, the parathyroid hormone is the thing that will give you the anxiety, because that's the thing that puts you on full alert. Your body thinks something's wrong, you're in a crisis situation, and that's what makes you like this, and you can't sleep properly, and you just and then you get this horrible creeping feeling. Now this was natural for me. This creeping feeling I'd had, this anxiety feeling I'd always had. It was just normal life. So when I was taking the vitamin D properly, and I got a maintenance dose, which I have now, I slowly sort of thought, that's funny, I don't have the kind of thing, you know, I used to, like, if I was going to meet someone, or someone was coming to meet me somewhere, I would be absolutely, I would be under terrible stress. Or if I had to go anywhere or do anything, or even standing in the queue at the shop, thing, oh, I've got to go up there, I wasn't frightened, and people would say to me, you know, like, I got at one point, I got sent to what did we call it? Because I got referred under. I went to my GP at one point, and he said, "Oh, well, we've got this new thing, this counselling thing you can do." And I said, "Okay, it's like a class, education class, and they see you for like I think they saw me for 3 weeks, which was unusual before by myself, and then they send you to a class, and you sit with everyone and you have a chat about." You know, they go through like education, they call it anxiety education class. So I went there and did that, and I was doing that for, it was 6 weeks course, and it was good. It was very good. Yeah, definitely the thing to do, because your bones as well, because of your bones, mate. If you don't have the vitamin D, your bones start falling to bits. You have to be careful. In theory, I mean, I haven't had a test for ages, but in theory, you should get your calcium checked every 3 months to make sure that they're not going too high, because that can start causing problems for your circulatory system, I believe. I haven't had it checked for ages. I should get it checked. But yeah, so they sent me to this class, but it was really good at managing. I got better at managing the anxiety, but it just kept getting, the amount I was having to manage was getting worse. So, I mean, at one point, when your daughter Anika, Patrick, had to take vitamins to keep her bone. That sounds similar. Sounds like a similar thing. Check twice a year, EKG. Yeah, good. Yeah, I mean, I need to chase up and get a test for my calcium because it could be knackering all kind of bits of me. But brittle bones, yeah, then definitely. Oh yeah, I think I recall you saying that she's. Did you tell me she was registered disabled? I think you might have mentioned it. I could be wrong. I think you might have mentioned. Yeah, you definitely need to take vitamins for that. But I was going into this class. There was about 30 people there of all different backgrounds. Some of the people, I don't think they had actual anxiety. I think they were early stages Alzheimer's. But they were saying to me, "Why are you here? You seem so confident. You don't. Why would you have an anxiety problem?" But because, but the people running it were saying to me, "You're the worst person we've ever seen. We can't believe that you've been getting by in life at all." You know. Registered disabled, it gets no government benefits. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? For brittle, you don't get any benefits for brittle bones. That's ridiculous. Some of the things you can get benefits for. I'll tell you what. Oh, well. She never applied from after. Well, she should do. She should do, mate. I mean, yeah, she might have done. She might have, but I mean, if you have a disability, and you need to make adjustments to your home, there are benefits there, as far as I'm aware, that are, you know, part of your standard council setup. They can come and assess and help you out with installing barriers and, you know, all that kind of caper, things for the bath, and that you should take advantage of. What does she do for work? Well, depends. I think it doesn't matter how much money you've got. I could be wrong. Don't think they're means tested. Oh, she's at university. Okay. Well, she probably. I don't know. Maybe she would be if you're disabled, mate. Usually, you're not entitled to any benefits when you're at university, but if you're disabled, I think you probably are. That's right. That's how I know. Yeah. What was her sport? I think you did tell me. I'd love to know. Swimming, that's right. Well, you make sure, you know, I'll keep a lookout for her. 2020. It's only 2 years away, isn't it? What's her discipline in the swimming? That's right, I remember you telling me. Yeah, both her legs. Yep. Yep. I can believe that. Great sport for 200 metres. It's a great sport for people who have any kind of impairment or disability, because it's such a good form of exercise, but it's also that weightlessness. And for someone with brittle bones, I would guess it would be an incredibly beneficial thing to do, particularly if you're talking about wear and tear and joints and stuff. Because I guess you can't run with the spikes on because of the impact, probably smash your knees to bits, if you don't mind me saying it, you know, such plain terms. I mean, just the, you know, people that are in perfect health smash their knees to bits, don't they? A lot of training though, swimming. I mean, it's all 5 o'clock starts, isn't it? To fit it in around your day. Did you tell me she's a... Did you tell me she's at Loughborough? But, although, don't go into the details. Don't. Probably shouldn't tell me too much online. Oh yeah, brilliant. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Isn't that fantastic? Thing is, some kids, they're just... Nothing stops them, you know. I've known people that, well... I went to a school where 10% of the intake... That's right, Cambridge offered her all the facilities she wanted to train over Portsmouth. Yeah, but Cambridge is where you need to go, mate. Cambridge is the place to be. Oxbridge is where it's at. Yeah, that's it, mate. It's brilliant, isn't it? I went to a school that had a 10%... Is disabled still... Are we still allowed to say that? Or does it have to be differently abled? Or something like that? I went to a school where it was a 10% disabled intake. And I actually think there were some people I went to school with that had disabilities that I didn't even know they had disabilities. I think. Because they weren't... Just, you know, everyone just got on with stuff. Yeah, you still see disabled. Yeah, you do see it, but I don't know, because sometimes they say differently abled, but I thought it was sort of gone back to disabled instead of messing around with all that. You know, pick a word. Well, you can pick a word and not worry about using it, you know. I've no idea what word I'm supposed to use for all kinds of people now. Apparently we don't say black anymore. Black is the wrong thing to say. Somebody who's probably wasn't black decided that black isn't the right word. We have to say of colour. Which I don't like too much, because if you say of colour, that's sort of saying, well, you're either white or of colour, everything else, so it's white and everybody else, which I don't... I think I prefer people describing their colours with a bit more detail, or not describing them at all. I digress. I nearly zoomed onto one of my other channels then. Well, this is probably the slowest I've ever eaten my dinner, I can say that. Got loads of salad there. Nearly got all the cucumber though. I can feel it. Cucumber always seems to have healing properties for me. I'm still eating it with my fingers because I'm an animal. Give you a big mouthful, who got? Oh. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Yeah. How are you capturing the footage? Are you going to use like a USB device, or are you going to get something a bit more juicy, or what are you going to do? Because I mean, I'm going to be making a video with the real machine probably in the next week or so, and I'm just going to try and use a tiny little capture thing. It's because normally I just use emulators, but this one I want the real machine. Footage from emulators, okay. And how are you capturing the actual footage from the emulators? Using fraps or something like that? I hope I've used the right word. I've got this habit of picking a getting the wrong word. So I'm always confusing VNC, the remote desktop protocol, with VLC, which is the media player. Doing it all the flipping time. And I said fraps, and I was thinking, no. Only capture device you capture footage from Xbox 360, PS3, and Wii. Yeah, I'm using OBS Studio. I'm using that now. So you'll just, excuse me, set it up as a game capture or a window capture, and that's the way I do it for my streams. Oh, Control plus Windows plus R to just record. Well, does that send that to the videos folder then? Yeah, 7. I think I'd heard that before, but how do you... I'm guessing there must be a way to configure the format and the bitrate. See, this is the problem. The main problem I've got with Vegas is that it's yeah, no, that's fair enough. I wouldn't criticize. I think the thing with some people like Zeusdaz is very particular about using real machines and using the footage from the actual screen from the camera. Apart from where he does capture it, doesn't it, as well? He'll capture it from a real machine to DVD for the quality. Just for live, he does it straight to the screen. And I appreciate that. And actually, there is big differences between a real machine and emulation. Very often, I mean, WinUAE is probably the best emulator. Try it. Just press the buttons again to stop the recording. Okay, well I won't do it now because it'll probably lock up the entire thread, but I'll give it a go. I'll give it a go afterwards, because that might work better than this, to be fair. Yeah, but the thing with Vegas is it's still based on video for Windows, and they haven't. At no point have they moved it away. And it's I think it's the best for quickly editing, making quick cuts. It's probably the best system. However, it doesn't have very good support for various codecs. Good man. Alt plus Windows R. Alt Windows R. Okay, right. I'll try that later on. I'll try that after this stream. Did those with Premiere? Yeah, they didn't come out bad, did they? I can't get my head around Premiere though. The thing about next version of Dreamworld. Okay. The thing about Vegas is it works like audio application, like an audio. Well, it's better than that really, because no, it is. It's like an audio application. So I think a lot of the although I don't look at many editing programs at the minute, it worked better than you expected. Yeah, the thing about Vegas is that the thing about the like Premiere and those things. Last time I used them, they work as if you're cutting film. It seems to me that the way you actually have to go pick your shots and then you put the shot into the edit. Whereas with Vegas, it works as if you're using a traditional audio editor or a digital audio workstation. So you just have all the material, you can just chuck it in, you can cut it, and then you can stretch out the end of the material. You can probably do that now in the other ones, but you couldn't do it. So I've always, in spite of its many frailties, I've always stuck with Vegas. Although I don't even use it now for actually doing the encoding. All I use what do I use? There's a what's his name? Debug mode has got a is it debug mode? There's a frame server, and the frame server sends the I can get it through AVI synth to send the stream to FFmpeg, and I encode with FFmpeg now because then I can have it perfectly set up. Oh, you've not used the current version of Premiere Pro, but you mastered it within an hour. I don't know, maybe I should look at it again. I don't know. Patrick will be right back. It's a pity with Vegas because I think it's probably the most used editor, but most of the use is piracy. Sony sold it on to Magix, and I think they're going to struggle to make it work and make money. And the money they want for the update, I mean, I'm still on 12, version 12, and I think they're now 15 or 16, and it's not worth the money for the upgrade for what they're the enhancements. It doesn't have proper 3D support, and it's still sitting on top of video for Windows. It's weird, really, because you'd think, why can't they write a... Or you could leave it as a video for Windows. You just need to write a layer that says, right, I'm a video for Windows, a wrapper basically, that says I'm a video for Windows codec, make it all compliant with that, and then everything you stick in front of it, or is DirectX or whatever they call it now, whatever is the current standard. Wow, this is getting really cold. Takes forever to eat on a stream. Well, I finally put up a video I've had sitting around for a few weeks today. One with the scales. I thought, oh, I'm not going to do any videos today, so I'll put that up so I've got one to tide me over for the week. And then I had this brilliant idea to do this stream. I didn't think I was going to be very full when I had this, but I'm beginning to feel quite full. My settee's starting to get a weird droop. Oh dear, my weird droop. Yeah, this woman, Songbird, she just sits there eating food, and she's like looks at the camera and everything, and she gets her kid eating as well. Well, she's in America, so I suppose you can do that in America. In the UK, it'd probably be child protection services. The naan bread was really nice. Have I got this thing up here enabled? I've got no idea what I've got enabled on this channel at the minute. No, that's no good. People trying to send me emails. I worked for this company, ended working for them about a year ago, and they're still sending me emails about things that are nothing to do with me. I think I mentioned when I was working for Apple, I was getting emails meant for senior like directors of the company. Getting emails about their blooming tax affairs and stuff. Some sort of black bits on the edge of that. Maybe I'll just eat around that one. Well, it don't taste so good. I've got this problem, I don't like to leave food on the plate. Even if it don't look that tasty. So what I need to do is make this channel fly. No present. I have. Oh, hello, Jonas. Plumber is coming tomorrow to fix your toilet. You should probably put Super Mario on to give him a dose of Grandad humour. Do the Mario. Funny, because really, Super Mario and Nintendo didn't do much in the UK until oh, don't really want to wipe my fingers on my rug. Super Mario and the Nintendo didn't really do anything until the Super NES over here. I didn't know. I think I knew one person that had one. Which is nice, but it's gone hard. It's a great idea sitting on this rug, but it does your bloody back in after a while. Ooh. Need to wear some different attire on these videos as well. What's happened to your toilet? Tell me about your toilet, because I have toilet. Oh, I have toilet woes. Often, but I'm not going to try and encourage any. But I've had my hands stuck in all parts of toilets. So much I can eat this one, no problem. I've had basements filled up with sewage that I've had to carry out with a bucket with things floating about in it. Oh, you got SNES Mini? Blimey, good luck. How can you put games on it? It doesn't play existing cartridges, does it? Are you hacking it in some way? More importantly, what's happened to your toilet? I must know what has happened to your toilet. What I can guarantee you right now is that this is the only channel on the entire internet where... Whoop. No, I didn't know that. You can hack it and put ROMs on it. I had no idea. I've missed that bit of news. How do you do that? Has it got a... Is there a by design backdoor on it? I know the I know there was a what's it called? That super expensive one has got a backdoor on it where you can stick ROMs onto it. The one which is like the most amazing emulation ever. The guy wrote the emulation. It's an FPGA emulator, and the guy wrote the emulation about 10 years ago or something.
and waited for the hardware to catch up with it. So he wrote it for the FPGA, but the FPGA couldn't run it. They didn't have one that was powerful enough to run it. Completely cycle exact, down to the point where you can choose between a pure 60 frame mode or a proper 59.94 frame mode for completely exact emulation, but then you get a bit of tearing on the screen. Oh, apparently a new and improved version of Malwarebytes is available. And your toilet is running a lot late. It's a program called Hackchi. You just drag and drop the games. Oh, that's great without even. And just connect it to a PC. I didn't even realise it had a data connection. I thought it only had a power connection over USB. Oh, well, they'll fix that if they do the 64 Mini, won't they? Blimey, I wonder if you can do it with the NES Mini as well. I wonder if they did that by design. And your toilet is just running a lot lately after you flush it. Right. So let me get this right. You flush the toilet and then it takes ages for it to fill up. Is that what you mean? Is that what we're talking about? So you'll hear it'll still have water filling it up. You'll come back 10 minutes later and you'll still hear it filling up. God, I'm having real trouble with my eyes at the minute. I think one of my irises is sort of opening up more than the other one. It seems to be getting stuck. I think that's why when I start getting my eyes start to hurt. I give all for what you give me, I need. I get all for what you give to me. Hackchi. Have they reissued the SNES Mini? Did I hear that they're actually going to start putting them out again? Because I know they sold out ridiculously fast. Ridiculously fast. Okay. Let's see if we know you get up in the morning. You have to press the button over and it's the reservoir. Oh, it's a button push. Well, it'll probably be the same thing. The likelihood is, what tends to go wrong with these things is there's like a little rubber bung that's probably about that big on a lever flush. It's normally like a. Actually, I did have a bag with one in because I fixed one a little while ago. On a lever flush, it's like a little round thing with, and I think on yours, it's going to be like a kind of like a plunger thing, but on the end of it, it's got like a. It'll be like, you know, like a round piece that sort of screws into it, and those things wear out after a while, and they and I think the problem is that apart from them getting a bit smaller, they when they wear out, they start to get a bit rough, and then they resist a bit, so it takes. And then, so you have to push harder because the thing pushes down under weight to get it, and it has to push harder to get it to bung up the thing. And eventually it won't bang it up properly, I guess, and water will come through. Hopefully it'll be a 10-minute job for you, plumber, or they might end up replacing the whole thing. But it should be cheap, mate. It should be a cheap job. My former partner had a nightmare toilet. She had one of these built-in ones floating. So in the back you have a you got like a shelf, and then the toilet comes off the front, and you have to. It had like a stone thing on the top of this cabinet thing, so if anything goes wrong with it you have to lift this thing off, and you couldn't get to anything, there's no hatchway or anything, so you had to hang in. I was there with my ex-girlfriend hanging onto my legs as I was trying to dangle over it and figure out what was going wrong with this toilet, which was never fitted properly. Every time you flushed it, water would come around the side. You know, the water going in would come around. Then we noticed the water coming out was going out, but it was mostly water. Yeah, it's the landlord. Yeah, that's what you want to do, mate. Get the landlord to fix it. Yeah, so this thing drove me bonkers. It drove both bonkers, and then eventually, I think eventually we noticed there was just something. It was just the whole system was wrong. So we ended up getting the whole thing was replaced. Got a guy in to fix the whole thing. Just took the whole thing, but we had to drill a hole, or we had to cut a hole in the wall to get it to do what needed to be done, and then we had to put it back in and fill it and paint over. Well, I didn't do that. My former missus did it because she's good at that sort of thing, which I'm not. I can fix the toilets sometimes. I don't think I could replace the whole thing. That would be a call to the plumber, but just switching around the little bung things. I'm quite interested now, this SNES Mini, that it'll take ROMs and homebrews and stuff. I missed that altogether. Is that a fairly recent development? Very slowly disappearing out of frame here. Hello Patrick, good to see you, my friend. Hope you've dealt with whatever needs to be done. We've moved on to the conversation of the SNES Mini, which apparently can take ROMs, which I didn't know, and the toilets, which Jonas has a problem with, and we've been discussing the various systems there are to make the work correctly. There's me out of focus again. Hacks for extra ROMs. Yeah, I've just been hearing there's a program called Hackchi apparently, which surprises me. You can install emulators. Yeah. Ah, right. Yeah, because I'm guessing it's an FPGA, isn't it? Because the SNES is an emulator in there. I'm really worried. I'm wiping grease all over my rug. I get off on what you give me, baby. Oh, it's good. So that's a bit like the it's a bit like that super duper expensive one, Cycle Exact one. Oh. So yeah, I'm thinking about, you know, ways to push this channel forwards and make it go into the stratosphere, because the problem is that I don't think I'm producing the quality content that might need to do that. But looking at most stuff, to be honest, most is crap. Bear with me a moment as I just move out of the frame to blow my nose, which I leave the mic in front of my mouth for. A Spectrum emulation station. What does that mean? Spectrum emulation station? Why, that sounds quite interesting. Spectrum for me is a funny relationship, because my neighbour had one, and I was interested in it. But I was more interested in, like, looking at it in the catalogue, like the plus 2 and plus 3. I look at it and think, oh yeah, it looks amazing, but I've never been enamoured with it. Apart from like Dizzy and Streaker, they're the only using a real specky keyboard and a Raspberry Pi. Oh, interesting. Have you been into map planes since the administration? Because yeah, no worries, Jonas. You go for it, mate. They've had some interesting bits and pieces in there. I was in my one today. Yeah, I was in my local one today, and I think they're going to drop me a line when they know the big chop is going to come, because a lot of the prices aren't so brilliant now. There are a few things that aren't too bad. I saw something today that I very nearly bought. I was sort of umming and erring, but I don't think it's quite. Don't know, something for these live streams actually, and I mean, even now I'm thinking maybe I'll go for it, but um, there's a few things they're worth going for. They've got a few. There's only a few. The only things that are at 50% because they've got like some things are at 50% reductions. They're like um, those like like the cable tacks that you use. You put the cable in, it's got a panel pin, and you put it in the wall, whatever. They've got like bags of those. They're 50% off. But there's a few things that are at 20 and 30% that are pretty good. They're starting to get pretty good value. A lot of old junk in there. But I was thinking I might try, and if I catch them when they do go proper 50 and 80%, I was going to see if I could pick up any CPUs, because I'm guessing there's going to be like, because they've got loads of stuff they don't put on the shelves that are just sitting in stock. So I'm thinking, well, who's going to come along and like go for an AMD FX3 or something like that? If that goes down 80%, then price for punch, where they what's the what's the word per punch for can't think what the word is. Well, dollars for donuts or whatever. They might be the best. They might not be a bad deal, because I want to get a machine that is. I want a desktop machine to do video rendering with, because laptops are. It's too much for laptops. I think. I think your laptops, if you start doing too much rendering with a laptop, it'll end up going. So I'm just thinking I get a desktop that I can just have set up and then go whoosh, render, stick the old, and then I can continue doing other videos on my laptop. And I mean, I do have another laptop, but it's sort of cream crackered. But yeah, I'm still sort of hovering around Maplin, trying to decide whether or not. I was looking at their radios as well, scanners and all that. I don't know how many people broadcast in the clear in analog in the clear anymore. I don't. Used to be years ago, you could get loads of quality stuff on those radios. In fact, maybe see what I'm doing now as well is I'm thinking, well, if I buy this, well, it'll be justified, because then I can put it on my channel. But I'm not like I'm making any money out of this, so. But I'm thinking, yeah, I can afford to spend 50 quid, which is reduced from a significant amount, for this top quality scanner, where I can listen into things that actually quite frighten me sometimes. So I don't know. I'm noticing the viewers flicking up from 5 and 4, 5 and 4, 5 and 4 all the time. I do wonder if when I used to do a stream about a year ago that I'm probably not going to do anymore, where they completely another. I know it's gone down to 3. That's even more confusing. On another channel, and it's got too difficult to do live streams for that for me now, because it's a little bit more technical. That one there's a bit more tricky stuff going on, and I'm struggling to. Well, anyway, it's another channel, and but on that, when I pushed it out stuff on Periscope, I always got people coming on from Periscope, like a significant number, and I don't know whether. I don't know whether Periscope's finished now. I'm wondering if that's it. Periscope's over. People don't bother with it anymore. I remember watching people on that. There was some strange old stuff going on. Peculiar kind of things going on. People just sitting there talking about, Well, you knew where people were, but their location, didn't it? You could go and knock on their door, I suppose. And I've just remembered I've got something else here that I need to. I've got can I bring it into shot without getting into trouble here? Oh! Right, okay, bear with me. Bear with me. Hello. Yeah, game demos. Interesting things for your channel, like game demos. Well, I'm going to be doing the Amiga format discs, some more of them, because I discovered today that my videos, if you type in Amiga format now, my videos are now the top. But my what do we call it? Playlist. My playlist for my Amiga format videos are the top ranked videos for the search Amiga format. So that's pretty cool. But I've got this. If I can do this without showing off a builder's bum, I'm going to end up getting censored. I don't think I can. Let me just. No, can't move that out of the way. Right, bear with me. I had one thing I was gonna go and see if I could get. Oh shit. I mean, oh shoot. The non-demonetized version. Oh, come here. So, my former boudoir buddy. Alright, so this, I've had this amp, and it's a lovely amp, sounding amp actually. A lot of people say it's not the best Bang & Olufsen amp, but I've had this. Actually, where's the Dane gone? This is Danish, isn't it? I think Bang & Olufsen is Danish, so I've had this amp for about 15 years now. It's a Beomaster 3000. Second, there's two versions of the Beomaster 3000, and it's got touch controls, and it's got there's a button there. Oh, missed the action there. It's a real heavy thing, this, but it's got a little button that comes up and all the controls are in there. This is a proper nice 80s amp, and I did have other bits for it, but they're not in very good condition. But unfortunately, it's got two sets of speaker terminals on the back, and one day, a year and a bit ago, I thought, oh, I'm going to try and use that second speaker terminal, which was a big mistake, and I won't ever do that again, because it very quickly overloaded it, and it's taken out. Well, it's taken out one of the channels, and I was going to go into Maplin. I was going to, because it's not too far from me, it's so convenient. I could, in theory, go in, get the exact caps I want, and then try, instead of buying, like all the different caps that I think need doing, I could have just bought the ones I thought might be in trouble, and then just go one by one, and then it's only 10 minutes to nip out, go in there and pick up the right ones. It's a lovely. This is a really nice sounding amp, and I've got. Do you know what? Thinking about it, I've got Danish. This is Danish, isn't it? Bang & Olufsen. I've got Danish amp, and my speakers are Danish as well, and it's a different company. It's LTAX. Well, I never. But yeah, I've got LTAX 3s, which were which is they're a lovely pair of speakers actually. They're not quite as good as they were. I think they're getting a bit old, to be honest. Just remember, I've got another pair of huge speakers as well, stashed away at another location. I've got so many speakers. I found some speakers in the bin room at my place. So Patrick's saying he's thinking of doing a few Amiga demos too. When you say Amiga demos, do you mean like demo scene demos, or do you mean game demos? I'm guessing you mean demo scene demos. Spectrum Station sounds cool. I don't know why, if I mentioned it, but they have an arcade cabinet from Liberty Games in my entryway. I think I've seen that in one of your videos. Just game demos, cool. Oh, I see what you mean. Jonas, you'll be able to tell me. Bang & Olufsen, they're Danish, aren't they? You can confirm that to me, I'm sure. And LTACs are Danish as well, I think. So I had an all-Danish system, I think, for a while. But I'd love to get this thing working. It's so heavy as well, it's ridiculous. Class A amp, I think. But I don't think it hogs that much power. In fact, I should be able to find the service manual for this. Oh no. The only thing I've done to it, I did... There is a front power switch that actually looks broken now. Might have to replace that, but... little things come off on it. And... looks like this is taking a bash at some... oh, I know what I've done. It's when I've taken the case off, I've broken the headphone input by the looks of it. It's got something dangling out of it. Anyway, lovely amp. Yeah, they're Danish. Yeah, an LTACs. I've got. So I only just thought about it. I had this Danish amp, and I had Danish speakers. I mean, how many times does that happen? In fact, no, they're not. I've got. I think I've got another set of speakers. I found these speakers in the bin room that are. They're not a good name brand, but they're the only speakers they had them made by one of the big brands, and I found them in the bin room, and I said having them. I don't know about these arcade cabinets and Liberty Games. I've seen a few of these. I think they're Android-based ones, which are just the joystick things. I mean, at one point, I guess what I could do, that might be an interesting project. I've got this arcade core here, which I've told this story. Oh, Boris the Blade in Snatch. Heavy is good. Heavy is low. It doesn't work. You can always hit them with it. Yeah. Oh, this is a lovely sounding app, and like I say, I mean, look at the vents. The toaster rack on the back of that. I ain't messing around with this. You hit somebody with this, they ain't getting up again. I mean, I'm never sure about these transformers that have got coils that are visible from the bottom as well. I don't know if you're allowed to do that anymore. I don't know if you can see the coil is completely visible. I don't know if they're live. If that's the primary, isn't it? Is that the second? It's primary, and then that's probably got 3 or 4 elements to it. I mean, I guess this. I mean, I've seen Ms. Mad Lemon repaired her Marantz amp, and I've got one of them. I don't have the same one. I don't know if you've seen the video. But she's got a. Do I want to put this on my... This did get cleaned by my former partner for me. She was very happy about it, that she'd cleaned it. And then I said, oh, it don't work. And she went, oh, well, it's clean now anyway. Right, bear with me. I want to put this somewhere where it's not going to get... It's not going to get damaged, and it's not going to damage my rug. So just take 1 second. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I've got, I don't know if it's visible here. I don't want to go. Let me just take that and go like that. But I've got a lower end version of the oh, is that right? There we go. Of the Marantz amp that Ms. Mad Lemon. God, this is really confusing. Has she's got the 350, which has got dual speaker outputs. I expect she probably tried to plug 2 speakers into her one, which is what snookered her. And I've got the 310, which I bought. I sort of said to my mate, "Oh yeah, I'll give you a tenner for that amp that you've got lying around there, that nice one." And he went, "Oh well." I said, "Well, do you want it lying around, or do you want a tenner for it?" And he went, "Oh yeah, okay. I should." A bit naughty of me, really. And I don't think I've ever. Oh, I did buy an amp. Come to think of it, because when I blew up that Bang Olufsen one and that Marantz one, I wasn't feeling very confident about. I went and got a what is it? Cambridge A1. I won't show that because it's out of range. Topaz AM1. Marantz, not Marantz, Cambridge from Richer Sounds. So yeah, you can actually see it in the shot there. That amp. And that needs a bit of work as well. But I mean, it sounds all right. But I watched Ms. Mad Lemon's videos on it, and she did loads of tinkering, and she pushed, and she was properly biasing it. I can't bother with that. Apparently you can get too much current going to your speakers, and I've got a feeling there might be too much current going to these speakers, because I mean my ears are starting to go a bit on the wonk, but I've got quite good ears generally, and they sound a little bit on the wonk. Actually, while I'm here, I might as well. Ooh. I'm trying really careful not to do a builder's bum, but I'm probably going to fail. I've actually got. Oh, come out, come out, come out. This thing is still. It is a good looking machine, this. Oh. I've got my Amiga 1200, which hasn't been run for a few years actually. Somebody in the Amiga community, so I think he's disappeared off the face of the earth. He's actually got my memory card that I had in this. I did have for years. I mean, I barely used it at the time. I had a Blizzard 1230 in it, which was that same friend who I bought that amp off. He actually gave me it because he'd finished with his Amiga, and he gave me it because I needed a machine that I could really. When I was at university actually, and I was home still using it. I had a PC, but I wanted something I could do music-y stuff with, and he got me set up with a good system, and I never really used it. And he also swapped out when he got rid of his Amiga. He sold his he sold a 1200, but he had a big Amiga 500 supply, a really big one. And he said, I don't want to give him that power supply, give me your 1200 power supply, which was a 2.5 amp rubbish. So I gave him that, and he said, I don't want to give him that, you can have that one. But apparently the 2.5s, although they were rubbish and they didn't, so they wouldn't work properly with my memory expansion, apparently they lasted out a bit longer than the 500 supplies, and the 500's on the wonk, I think. But and actually I think this machine needs it hasn't had the caps done on it. So I need to get someone to do it for me, really. There's a guy that does it on Amiga. I'll probably end up doing that. I'm a bit worried that it might already be too far gone, this one. But you see the case. Have you seen some of the cases? They're really yellow. My one isn't yellow at all. I had it actually. It was left probably in the most sun it's ever been left last year, and the key, you can't really tell off of this, but the keys have gone a bit. I think they've gone a little bit yellower. In fact, they've gone quite a bit yellower. They were never as yellow as this. But apart from that, the case is quite white. But the keys are a bit yellow. I probably shouldn't look at it too much. A little bit dirty as well to give it a clean. But I have got, I think my Amiga. Yeah, I might ask this. I know there's a guy on Amiibo who's really good, who I might send it off to. But I don't see. I don't see. Hang on, if you can see if it's going to come into focus. My one's a UK made machine, and I don't know whether it was made or it was just assembled, but I know that mine was one of the first ones. In fact, have I still got that screwdriver around from when I was testing that condom the other day? No, I don't. I've got a weird revision of the motherboard, if I remember correctly. Yeah, my one says Amiga 1200 2M UK, and it's got a weird number on the back. So yeah, well, it's not a bad nick, my one. The case isn't yellowed at all, really. I think that's pretty much the natural colour. The keys have, you know, I left it on the side in my corridor last summer, and I've just moved it onto this like TV stand recently. I think when it was out in the corridor, the keys got a little bit yellowed up. But yeah, I was just thinking, this is actually turning into a computery type thing here. But I picked up this a few years ago and I barely used it, and it's actually, I mean, it's not a great joystick mechanism, but that you could, and the buttons aren't wonderful, but I guess, I mean, I was always thinking, oh, I know what I'll do. So just to explain what this is the Arcade Core, which is a it's meant to be used with iOS devices, so iPhone or the iPads. I guess it would work with the watch as well, I'm not sure. And the reason it's meant to work with them, and they didn't design it to work with anything else, is because that at the time this was made, Apple had some restrictions on what external input devices you could use with their locked off system. So you couldn't have a Bluetooth device that would identify as a joystick. It wouldn't let it do it as a human interface device in that way. It could only work as a keyboard. So this system, when you connect by Bluetooth, your 1200 is in your bedroom right now. There's nowhere to put it. Well, I'd like to get my one working again because I do love it. And I think it's a good looking machine. It was a well designed case, that one. It's a good looking machine, good entry level machine. So the way it works, which is slightly annoying, is that it when you press a key on it, because I don't have an iPad or any iOS device, and it doesn't work with my Mac either. But the way it works is that it identifies as a keyboard, and when you turn it, say left, the thing, it'll send out like an A, and when it comes back to the middle, when you release that, it sends like a B. So it has an on, and left off. So you can't map it to a normal keyboard. You can't it's not like you can select keyboard controls and then choose your keyboard controls and then map it that way. So this may well end up turning into a separate video now. Now I've been given the idea, and my plan at one stage was to because I actually, Tony Willan very kindly, when I said, oh, can you introduce compatibility to this, because some applications do have support for this, and he very kindly added support for it by just putting a clause in that meant you could set an on and off release key, and it's still in. I think it's still in WinUAE. Ian Gledhill. I think that's the name I was thinking of actually. In fact, I think he's come up in these streams before. I think I could be wrong. I'll ask him. Thank you, Ian Gledhill of Mutant Caterpillar Games. Right, I'll get onto him. Thank you. So yeah, so he put that in, and I was really happy with that. And I had it working on my partner's Windows 7 machine. And the thing is, the original release of this is quite compatible with software that supports this input mode. It's quite compatible, but it isn't compatible with this one, because this one uses a slightly different version of the chip that requires 6 numbers for the to pair it with anything, and it won't pair correctly basically. And I did have it working with this Windows 7 machine, but what happened was that at some point I think Windows 7 updated and they changed the Bluetooth stack so that you have to use a pairing code, and there's no way around it, and it doesn't work with it anymore. I mean, it wasn't very reliable working with it anyway. I had it working once or twice, was playing Sensible World of Soccer and everything on WinUAE. But the thing that is entering my mind now is that I could do what you were saying with the Raspberry Pi. That would easily fit inside this, and I could just wire it directly to it, I guess. I mean, what my plan was at one point was that I've got a pad in the other room, and take that apart and just use that as the wire that to the thing. But it's so many wires, and I can't solder. Still soldering, I guess, with the Raspberry Pi though, isn't it? But it's a good box for if you wanted to. I mean, I think that's a standard. Take off the doodah. I think that's a standard mount there for a. Oh, have I got any shot? I think I could stick like a Sanwa joystick in there, and the buttons are all replaced. I mean, the buttons aren't, but I'm not too fast. I think because it's not being used, the joystick is a little bit. It's going a little bit on the wonk actually. That'd be great if I'd use it. I think there's a little bit of deterioration there. What do you call it? When a bit of might just need a bit of playing. The only other thing with this is this joystick comes with the ball not attached, and it does sort of move and come off. But again, spend a few quid and get a sandbar. But you could easily, I guess I could quite easily, if I managed the soldering, fit a Raspberry Pi in there, Pi, and flip in between the Greek and the English pronunciation. Oh, I never noticed that, and it'll take a 5-volt supply. This. Why would you need to do that? So in theory, the phone or whatever fits on here, but that's a strange thing, isn't it? Because this is like this takes like 1 AA battery, two AA batteries it takes, and they'll last. I mean, they'll last months. So why would you need? Why would you have a 5-volt supply on there? I was thinking maybe there's a pass-through or something to charge a device. It must be purely to power this. Also, I've just noticed there's 2 security bits on this as well. Doesn't matter, I've got access to security bits. Because the first thing I thought was, oh, maybe they want you to mod it. I've got security bits that'll open it with the pin in the middle. He saved a lot of your hardware. I'll get onto him, mate. I'll get onto England Hill. Could be, yeah, I suppose, yeah. Maybe that's why. If you're building the whole thing into a cabinet. Yeah, that must be it. But then, I wonder if this was originally planned to be a standalone thing then, and they've changed the top half of the mould, because you wouldn't have this as a standalone cabinet, this actual device as it is, because it is a because it is iOS device only. That's really weird. But there are, yeah, so short story is there are devices which support that. If I've got any batteries around, I'll try and connect it to something. It's a nightmare though. I got it to connect to my, you get it to connect to something and it'll connect for a little bit and then it just disconnects again, and you know, it's almost like Apple told them to do it. But it's nice, it's a nice design. You could easily, there's loads of room in there. You could easily fit a P in there or whatever. That power supply thing might be where you drop the video output out of without having to cut the case. Oh, can you get it out of that? Or you could probably slip it out of the side there, out of the battery. Anyway, I thought it was always an underrated device, this, apart from the fact it doesn't connect to anything, which is, it seemed like a miss. I don't know why they didn't make one for Android stuff. Would have been obvious. There is Android software that supports it if you can get the thing to connect. I wonder if there's a pin that can be branched or something that will stop it trying to pair, because pairing it's fun anyway, because you have to switch it on, try and pair it to the device, and then you have to, it'll say, oh, enter this code on the thing, and it's like 1, 2, you know, you have to move it in all different directions to get the, you see the numbers written on the buttons to get the thing. Anyway, let's see if anything is happening in, because oh, did I actually post this? No, I didn't. Probably should have posted that. Why did I not post that? No, I did post that. Well, I was wondering if anyone would come and watch that I knew, and I didn't. I'll tell you something that has confused me. I've seen this guy Ruby Walsh, the jockey, seen his picture. I've never known. I thought Ruby Walsh was a woman, to be honest. Turns out it's a bloke, and he's about the same age as me. And well, I mean, I'm starting to look my age a bit more these days, but blimey, this guy. Can I bring his picture up? Let's see. I want to be careful I don't bring up anything because I've got a load of things from an earlier video, and I've got a feeling if I'm not careful I might accidentally bring them up and people will go, oh, what are you looking at? No, I'm not even gonna risk it. But anyway, if you ever look up this guy Ruby Walsh, he's exactly a year and a day older than me, and he looks about 20 years older than me. He's a jockey. He look easily 20. I think I'm being generous saying 20 years older. Can I drag? Maybe I can drag this picture in and see. I'm going to try. No, I can't drag it in that way. Can I? Maybe I can copy it. It's a bit of an experiment, this. No, you can't do that. Alright, then maybe if I'll save this picture. Is this the right thing? It says safe image. And then maybe I can do it this way. Now I've saved it. Maybe I can go do. I don't know what I've done. Right, okay. So what I want to do is You've looked him up. Yeah, well, let me see if I can. No, I can't even drag it in that way. Well, wait, there's got to be a way. I've got to get a picture on screen. Come on. Yeah, they might have put the power supply in for that reason, Patrick. It's possible. I think you're lagging behind us, Patrick. I think when you started up, you're a few minutes behind, mate. You won't hear that for a few minutes if you are. Right, how do I put an image in? There must be a way. I know there's a way. Here we go. Image. Scooby dooby 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 dee. Well, there's loads of stuff I can do that I've not tried on this new. Actually got a thing. No. Add these. No, there's no connector to feed it, Patrick. There's it's just got like a. It just has a pass through. I think it is purely to power the. I think it's purely just to power the device, the joystick. Safe. Where is it? Alright, great. Now I have to find where I saved this thing. I'm going to put the picture into the thing, so it's safe. It's in downloads. Scooby Dooby Dooby Die. Scooby Dooby Dooby Dee. That's a picture of me from a couple of years ago. I'm getting old looking now. I am aging now. It's all the grief and misery. Come on. What I don't want to do is suddenly put the wrong. There we go. That's the one. Right. There he is. My days. That man is a year and a day older than me. Would you have guessed that? I mean, I think from that picture he looks about, I think you're right, he looks in his 50s. I'd say I'd say he was about 56, 57. That's horse racing, mate. That game, horse racing, it is one of the harshest games. You've got no fat in your face. Yeah. Well, he's broke his leg today as well. I looked when they said I looked and I thought, Ruby Walsh, who is this Ruby Walsh? I thought that was that woman, the horse trainer. And when I thought, oh, it's a bloke, I thought, oh, he must have been around for a while. He must have been, because look at the state of him. He's one. I thought to myself, oh, he's one of these jockeys that have gone on for 15 years too long, and their bodies have started to found he shouldn't be carrying on in this game. And then I saw how old he was, and I went, huh? He's a year and a day older than me. What? That's ridiculous. So yeah, funny that.
Yeah, it is terrifying. It is very terrifying. I'll get him off the screen. Kids, don't mess around with horses, that's what we say. 1 hour 40 I've done. I don't know, there were people watching my sleeping video, because I think there were 3 or 4 of them there, and I don't know who they were, but that was quite funny, that video, because I was really tired, and I was genuinely... Oh, I've gone blurry. That was what it looked like to me. I was all blurry, but I was sort of like, my eyes were going. I was going, and then I was, and then my mind was wandering. I was thinking, no, I've got video going, so it was getting quite painful in the end. And then, in the end, I had to stop. But I was quite, yeah. I like interesting things like when you try and do an interesting experiment like that. Like this, doing videos sitting on the floor eating food, which is now long digested. I haven't had anything to drink actually. I'm just going to go slightly off screen and lift my mic up. Oh, blimey. Oh, that was nice, that. You know when you're a bit more thirsty than you thought you were. Now Batfink came, he keeps putting Batfink into my mind. I start thinking of my old nursery school. Because you'd come back and Batfink would be the first thing I'd watch. These were the days, those were the days. The days way back in time, way back in time. So, oh, yeah. Yeah, stay away from the horse, mate. Spared for your son. Spared. Don't do no horses. Yeah, terrible business. Well, Lester Piggott's got a face like... I don't think Lester Piggott has actually aged since he packed it in. Is Lester Piggott still alive, actually? I should have a check. Yeah. Here we go. Patrick is catching up. You've reset the video feed. Yeah, it's... Yeah, I think you were... Oh, is it? Hang on. Yeah, I think your video feed was a bit behind us, mate. I think when you went and you came back, you might have caught up, but... I mean, yeah, the text feed seems to be okay. Oh dear, no, we can't recommend that. I won't recommend that, mate. It's a bad road to go down. That the hard drugs. I mean, I have no interest in drugs. Never take any drugs. Don't drink. Don't smoke. Don't eat chocolate. I can't eat chocolate, but I don't eat chocolate. Used to eat chocolate. 23:32. Right now, yeah, that should be right. Let me have a look at the... Yeah, that's right. You've got the right time. I don't think I'm missing any... I don't think I'm missing any text. I think it's all up to date. Pause that. Oh, they've changed the icon. I'm using this other thing and I couldn't find the application. Yeah, don't do crack as a gateway drug to horse racing. Yeah, so there's a fair amount of drugs that go around in horse racing, from what I understand. But yeah, I think when you go down that road, you can get yourself in trouble basically, and I mean, I know a few people in the music industry, and it's not. I don't think it's quite as druggy as it used to be, the music industry, or the hard drugs anyway, but
Yeah, I think it's for the best not drinking or smoking. I've always been I've never had any interest in it, so I've never been involved in any of that kind of thing. But know a fair few people who have, and some get on all right, and sometimes thing is, if you're having a rough time, I think it's quite easy to sort of, if you're like me, I mean, I think I've mentioned this in one of these threads before, but I'm the kind of person I can't eat one. I mean, I try not to eat biscuits anymore because I have trouble with my teeth. But I can't eat one biscuit. I have to eat the pack of biscuits, and I'll eat a pack of biscuits. People look at me and go, "Oh, look at you, thin as a rake. You can possibly eat a whole pack of biscuits." I'll be like, "Yeah, I wouldn't even think about it. I'll just start and oh, there we go, katang, and yeah." Thankfully, Urinika never smoked, but she does enjoy a drink. Well, you know, I mean, I'm not going to give anyone a hard time for having a drink. But the problem is, I mean, having spent... see, I had this problem in my younger days where... because I think the drinking culture changed around the time I was about 18. And... oh, I lost my chat for a second then, I think. Uh-oh, looks like there was a problem on our side. Well, I think I've still got working chat anyway, so hopefully I do. Yeah, I had a bit of a problem in my younger days when I was, you know, courting ladies. That it was sort of when the drinking culture went a bit bonkers with teenagers and young people, and everyone started drinking a lot more. And like, as a person who didn't drink, you find like your sort of prospective girlfriend or girlfriend was sort of going out 2 or 3 times a week and getting absolutely blasted, and I was a bit like, this is a bit sort of boring, you know. Or they go out and you don't know what they're doing, so I got a bit fed up with that. And I mean, prior to my last failed relationship, which was a 8 and a bit year relationship, I was with a girl that I wasn't quite sure what she was doing at any time, and it turned out that she was well, she was doing all sorts, you know, and she said, "Oh no, I'm not involved in that," and she sort of was, and I don't like that. But my former partner was Mediterranean, and they don't have the drinking culture that we have. They have a very responsible culture. They drink. I mean, she does get drunk. I mean, I think she drinks more than most. When she drinks, I think she has occasions where she drinks a lot more than people from where she is would normally drink. But they see, if you see in a hometown where she originates from, if you see a drunk person walking down the street, they'll go, "Look at them, British." Straight away they say they're British, because the only people that you see drunk in her on her island are British people. So that's sad, really, but that's the culture. Oh, restream, it seems to be throwing a wobbly. I'm just going to have a double check and make sure that we haven't got any messages that I've missed. No, I don't think I've missed any, so hopefully chat is still working. Yeah, so yeah, it's quite a difference really, and I'm a bit, I don't know if it's still the same with, you know, because I haven't really mixed that much with English people, to be honest, and British people. I haven't mixed that much with them socially for quite a while, because I was sort of, everyone I seemed to mix with was, excuse me, was it's my dinner repeating on me, was sort of immigrant people really, or people that don't originate from here. So I don't know. My family, I won't say they're a hard drinking family, but they're regular drinkers and social drinkers. Um, but not really as much as they used to. It used to be on a Sunday, all their mates would go to one of their houses and have in the summer in particular have a barbecue, drinky. But that's, you don't live for long, do you? But yeah, it's weird, really. I've not thought about that now. Oh, blimey! I hope it isn't like that. I hope it isn't. I think kids don't drink so much; they're smart ones. But I'll have to think about that. I don't know. I don't think I'm not. I'm not going to get another partner anyway. I don't think. People say that when they've split up with someone. I've taken this down that melancholy road again. Down the old melancholy road. I was going to stop putting this in my videos. My sister got me that a while ago. It's a stress thing, but I used to have it sitting on top of my speaker. It's official, Tato. Space Invaders. Products, lads. And it wasn't until I got this I realised that they did some clever reusage of the sprite, because you turn it upside down, it's another one of the aliens. And all that kind of stuff. Just gonna do myself a tiny little testy. Let's make sure this is working. There we go. Yeah, there's me with my little crown. I was thinking about changing back my avatar at some point, but I haven't as of yet. Got my eyeball. So yeah, I haven't had. Oh, hang on. Got a message coming from James. Yeah, it wasn't until I had it in my hand, and then I just turned it upside down, and I thought, so that must have been purely. Well, I know I've read about how that screen was drawn before, and it was really clever, because I think it's the same. Is it the same sprite? 'Cause I don't think they've got many sprites in the hardware. So it's not, I don't think it's like 30 sprites or whatever that are being moved. I think it's one sprite, and then it's redrawn loads of times, and then, obviously you can just read the memory backwards to get that image. Oh, when I do my video in a week, I've got a really quality version of what I think is a great version of Space Invaders that I'm going to review on a. So what I'm going to do. What I want to do is a video on a. So when I did my first streams, and nobody was watching, a gentleman by the name of Guru Larry, who I've mentioned a few times, because I really like his videos, but I was really happy that he came and watched. He was the first person that watched my streams, and I had a chat with him a couple of times on. Yeah, it probably is a memory thing. Yeah, so, yeah, because you just flip it around and you save it. Yeah, he came and we had a couple of chats, and on one of them I was talking about this console, second generation console, that I really like, so I'm going to do a video on that soon. And that's got an interesting version of Invaders, lots of interesting variations. But if I can get it to work, because the last time I tried to run that console was September the 11th, 2001, and one of the controllers wasn't working. I remember that, and so that was 17 odd years ago now, 16 and a half odd years ago. So I'm going to see if maybe the controller starts working again. It might have a capacitor problem. I might end up buying another one, but I absolutely love that machine. I absolutely love it, and I think I'm the only person that loves this machine. And it's the only emulator for it, is the only one that's currently one of the main ones that are properly updated on the Amiga, and I think it does perfect emulation on most Amigas as well. So more on that in the next week or so when I get back to the hardware, and because I think I'm going to have to grab the video from that if I get it working. I think I'm going to end up grabbing the video from that by because it's only got RF out. I think I'm going to have to get a video recorder and use that as a modulator, and then go out of the SCART on that if I can get a signal out of the SCART on it, and then go into my little USB capture thing I bought from Lidl, which isn't very good, but I really love that machine. It's the 1292 programmable system. I'm a little bit wary of actually saying what it is, because I'm thinking someone's going to be lurking around and going, "No, I'm going to do that now," because I hear that people do that. But it's the version I've got is the Astronic 2000. So it's a system that was the rumor was that it was actually developed in 1974, but I don't think it could have. Not impossible, but I don't think it could have been because of its capabilities. And I think it came out in 78. But it started to sell through a lot more in the very early 80s, 81, 82. And I've got an Astronic 2000, which my uncle bought. Bought a load of games for it, because he thought, I want to find out what this computer thing is about. And he played with it for a couple of days and went, "This is rubbish." I went round to my granddad. I had it around my granddad's, and I went round, and I was about 3 or 4. And they said, "Oh look, we got this thing," da 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 da, and they were playing it. And he said, and I think he was sort of saying, "Oh, I'm not sure if I like it." And we were going out the door, and I was like, "Oh, I want to play with the thing. I want to play with the thing." And they looked at each other, my granddad and my uncle, and they went, "Oh, let him have it." So they, and I was like, "Oh," they took it. We took it to my aunt. I don't think I hardly got to play with it for the first few years we had it. It was like special occasions. I used to play it with my dad. God, it's funny, I didn't really play that thing. I really did not play it. It wasn't something I was allowed to play. It's a funny thing. I've never really thought about it. I wasn't allowed to play with it. I mean, we had like a black and white TV it could play. I used to play a lot more when I was about 7, 8. I used to play it tons, but I was not allowed to play with that machine really. We used to occasionally get in them. I remember, well, I know one time I played with it because I know that I worked out the exact date because I remembered the episode of Cheers that was on the TV that night. But the controller's great. Jonas, I know you might say that fills you with dread. The controller is brilliant, and that's going to be the point. One of the points of the video is it is one of the best controllers ever. It is, and I know you'll go, that cannot be possible. There is no. It is the most responsive controller you would ever play, and that's why the Amiga. There is an Amiga emulator. There's a PC version of it as well, but AmiArcadia. Because the same hardware, I mean, there's tons of. So they licensed out the hardware design for the straightforward 1292 programmable system, and the same design was used for the Arcadia, I think, which was a different cartridge, but they're software compatible, and there is an adapter that was created at one point, and but you have to. Oops, knock something over. You have to use that controller. The main problem with the controller isn't the controller; it's the stick on it, because the sticks break off. So my one's got a couple of what do you call it? I can't think what it's called. I think there are a couple of rule plugs that have had the top cut off that are just been screwed onto it. Absolutely loved that machine. I love it. It almost brings me to tears thinking about it. Such and the games were the Space Invaders game was really good, and I've had loads of people say it's rubbish. Well, the Space Invaders game on that has features that I've never seen on any other game. You couldn't do it on any other platform because they don't have the controllers that support it. And I'll demonstrate it when I do it. Yeah, some really interesting games. That a beautiful analog controller, beautiful. analog controller. And nice to hold. You might think it's you hold it like this, and it's just quality, absolute quality. I'm gonna buy. I think I might even order another one. I'll see if I can find one on eBay in good nick, and I might buy another one because I've got a feeling I'm not going to get that one working, my original one. And there's something actually I was going to write to the guy that does that Win Amiga arcade emulator, because it misses one of the great features of that machine, which is when you switch it on, you put the cartridge in. You have to put the cartridge in, and this, for some reason, I think it was a hardware oversight or something. You put the cartridge in, and you switch it on, and the cartridge doesn't load. The stick is great. Yeah, that might be. Oh, good. I'm glad you remember it. Yeah, it's good. Well, I'm glad you remember, because you're the first person that's ever said anything positive about this machine. And you'll see there's a few videos about it on YouTube, but the people don't love the machine. So I want to do a video that shows that I love the machine. I love the machine to the point where if I buy another machine to do the video, I'm actually going to feel a bit disloyal. That's how much I love my particular one. I took it out the loft last time I was where it's currently located, and but yeah, I've still got all the boxes for stuff. They're a bit tatty, but fantastic machine, and it should have sold better as well, I think. And you can get, somebody did code, it's the only homebrew game I've seen for it, but I think, I could be wrong, I think it is the original, one of the original game programmers, or it might be something, they did Flappy Bird for it. And there was talk, I was looking a little while ago, there was some talk of someone making a cartridge that would work with it. But yeah, when you switch it on, I think it's because there was some design oversight that wasn't caught until late in the day. It doesn't automatically load the cartridge, so you have to switch it on, and it goes, and then you push a button, and it goes bang. It makes a real, it goes bang. So I really want it. You can't show that on the emulation, and you can't, you can't emulate that controller. So you have to use the real machine there. But that bang is an incredible sound, and I was going to record that and use it on something else as well. It's a real bang. It's like I don't understand how they made that noise, because it's you put it in, switch it on, and it's going, and then you push that button, and it's not like it's like an electronic noise, but it's got like a decay to it. You know about guitars, Jonas. You know what I'm talking about. It's got like a long decay. Bang! Like, sounds almost like an echo, but it isn't. Bang! It's incredible sound. Absolutely incredible sound. So I wanted to get a proper sample of that, and that's not replicated on the emulator. So I'll have to write to the guy and see if it's possible to emulate that, because he knows how electronically it's done, or and in the emulator they do other things, like they've got enhancements, so you push buttons and it adds things to the screen, which is an interesting idea, but a bit weird for an emulator because it's not really part of the emulation, I guess. Wow, it's coming up to midnight and I am starting to get tired, and I've been on for over 2 hours now. So maybe I should call it a night for tonight. But there's some people that would mock me for doing an impromptu thing here, and then just I think we had 7 at the start, and then they thought, oh, this is going to be a rubbish one with no Amiga or computer content, so we'll just go. But you guys loyally hung on. Yeah, you did have to look at me disappearing out the frame as I start to think, oh, I'll just close my eyes for a second, and before you know, I've already started yawning. Oh, excuse me. You were loyal to the end, you know. But yeah, I really want to try and push on, get the subscribers coming in. I'd like to get up to 100 so I can it starts enabling a few more features, but I guess I'll have to make videos that are interesting rather than just videos where I just talk for 2 hours and meander on about stuff, or ride on Zeusdaz's coattails. Sounds are important. I know how some people hate the loading sounds of the Amiga and C64 emulators, but I love them. It's part of the experience of recognising the loading noise. Yeah, every now and then I think I'm gonna record a proper Amiga Drive sound, because I don't think the sound on WinUAE is very good at all. It doesn't sound like someone who knows what they're doing recording stuff has recorded it. But that's probably a real gross. That's probably a really gross unfairness. But I think to record that drive sound, I mean, you don't really want to stick mics into a disc, so you need something that you can copy to a blank disc that you're not worried about. And then I think what you need to do, I'll demonstrate on my Amiga. Well, you should have different sounds for the 500 and the 1200 and all the rest of them. But I think you probably want a mic. I'm trying to think what the sound's like, 'cause it's quite different to PC sound, because it's really reedy. The luckily I just happen to have a microphone on hand. It's really reedy, the recording they have on. Quite weak. I'd probably have the mic. I'd have one mic about here, and then I'd have one mic about there, and I'd probably have one quite far back, sort of about where your ear would be if you were sat in front of the machine, like about there, if that makes sense. But you know, and then a bit further back. So I reckon on my 18i20 I'd probably have 6 mics plugged in, compressors, and probably an SM50. I'm going into detail. Probably an SM, probably a 58 actually, rather than a 57. I'd probably have, and then in the mix I'd try and make it sound. I'd try and balance it out so it actually sounded like you've got it near your ear, I guess, or you've got it, you know, where it should be. Because that's the problem. If you do it close up, well, you don't listen to it close up, do you? When you were using it, you didn't use it, so like that. You didn't use it with your ear next to it. So if you mic close to it, ain't going to be right. So you'd want to do it in a living room, really. You've got me thinking now. The first time I loaded up High-Res on the Amiga Forever, the long rumbling loading sound brought me right back to 89. That's interesting. I'd love to know where this Amiga was made, if it was made in the UK. That must just be assembled. Because by the time they closed, surely they didn't have facilities in the UK anymore. Was it Croydon they had a... I think it was Croydon that Commodore had a place, but I think that was shut down in the 80s. There was a subsidy or something they had. My Commodore seal came broken because I don't have a 1200 HD. I have a standard 1200, and that with a third-party drive fitted. There's quite a bit of corrosion on the bottom actually. This was up in my loft for a while. don't know where to put it in the loft. It's a lovely looking machine now, 1200. Beautiful looking machine. Great. One thing they got right, this case design, except another video I've got in the works. One major error is that it doesn't have a CD-ROM drive in it. Or the right connectors for it. And that thing on the side was a mistake as well. That was a half-hearted attempt to go for standard PC components. Typical Commodore compromise. Somebody probably said, we need to build this machine with standard PC components. So they put this thing in, which wasn't even approved, and it's not even fully compatible with that PCMCIA slot. Funnily enough, are these the same as card bus, aren't they? They're the same as card bus. I don't think I've ever plugged anything into that slot, and it doesn't have a cover as well, does it? Yeah, I don't know what I can plug into that. I think maybe a wireless B wireless goes in there. Yeah, I think they messed up without having a proper way to do CD. If they'd had a proper way to do CD, this is going to be another one of my videos. If they'd had a proper way to do CDs, then on the 1200, and that from launch, so forget about CD32. If they'd had a way to do CDs from launch with the Amiga 1200, it would have been a much bigger success. And if it come out two Denise chips, if you can't do 16-bit, give it 2 Denise chips, you can get away with that. Or just add 4 channels to the existing Denise chip, and but have 8 channels at least. 2 Denise chip, Denise A, Denise B, if it comes down to it. It's not Denise, Paula, sound chip, Paula. So 4 channel sound, Paula. Anyway, 8-bit if it has to be. It's not the end of the world, 8-bit. If you're going to be cutting back and not doing 16-bit, and then but have to have CDs, and then you got a much better chance of keeping the developers working for you, because CDs are more difficult to pirate at that time anyway, and you've given it a bit more sound, give it more RAM, even if it's a matter of giving it 1.5 megs chip and 500k of fast RAM, so you can access the full speed on the CPU. But even if it's 2 megs and 500k or 256k of fast RAM, even whatever you do, give it some fast RAM. Critical design flaw that was. Absolute madness. I mean, how stupid can you be? But they should have come with 4 megs minimum anyway. An easy way to have a CD-ROM, or even better, sell it with a CD-ROM, and then you would have had an Amiga that survived, I think. But still a lovely looking machine, but short of what it needed to be in terms of adapt. I mean, I don't want to hate the thing, because it does look brilliant. It's a lovely. Look at it. Keep picking up and looking at it. It's fantastic. You know, I mean, I always thought the 500 was a bit ungainly, because it was ungainly because what it was, but everything reduced. Lovely thing. You can fit so much in it. About the size of a PC keyboard at the time. You know, I had a Memorex keyboard that was about the same size as this machine, just a bit thinner, and absolutely cracking design. But if only. Shame that Amiga dropped the ball. Like, yeah. Well, they had so many developments between '88 and the end of the Amiga. They could have released 4 or 5 entirely new machines based on the technology, and they just didn't release any of them. You know, and when you've got a graphics architecture. Hi Leo. Hi Leo. I think you've caught us towards the end of this stream, but I did wonder if you'd turn up. So nice to see you, mate. It wasn't a planned stream. Where I'm just starting to have a bit of a rant about the Amiga. I guess these are proto versions of future videos that I'm going to be putting out, because I've got a few videos in mind. But I was just saying that I think the biggest mistake that Commodore made was they didn't have a CD capability, or CD add-on capability out of the box for the 1200. Madness when the PC was getting it, and all the developers were going with the CD. And I think a lot of the reason was because of the piracy. Well, I nearly started at 12 tonight. I was thinking about it, but I suddenly had this. I got this idea of rug munching. So I ate my dinner on the stream, which was, I mean, it was enthralling. I don't know if it added anything to the. Although I know Jonas, I think, was making his dinner. I don't know if Patrick was. I keep calling Patrick Paul because I keep confusing him with the former Watford striker Paul Furlong, who then went on to play for Chelsea. I think he was Watford's first £1 million sale, Paul Furlong, or was that Bruce Dyer? I know we sold a couple of players for quite a bit of money. He was rubbish, Paul Furlong, and we flogged him to Chelsea and he was no good. Focus! Focus! We've been talking about drinking, and I think my camera has been drinking. Is that going to focus? What? There we go. But yeah, the technologies that they threw away, like the AAA set. I mean, they were talking about having that working, and that was originally the story I heard, and I think it's the story that has been corroborated over time. Wow, this is really getting sick, my camera. Was that the AAA set was originally designed for the 3000, and I know everyone thinks the 3000 was a great machine, and in some ways it was, but it should have been more the enhanced chipset. And apparently the silicon wasn't ready; it was sort of half ready, and they just said, "Oh, we'll drop it. We'll just put the 3000 out with enhanced chipset." And then they had all kind. They had Ranger. There was another one before that, Ranger, which was developed by J Miner. The original team worked on it, which was an enhanced. And if I remember correctly, that one had a built-in chunky mode as well. And actually, there's an interview on. There is a talk he gave. I think it's in about '89, and somebody says to J Miner, Mark's in C64 GS years late and looking too much DOS on the CD TV when he said they launched the CD-based Amiga. Yeah. I think. I think 64 GS was a desperation move. It's what it came down to. Yeah, it would have done much better than they did. CD32 was the C64 GS was desperation. They were just trying to get some cash in, and they had a load of motherboards, and I think they were seeing the sales on the C64 slow, and all they thought was, well, if we'll just bung them out in a case and we'll jump on this console bandwagon thing, and they hadn't obviously thought it through. When you're putting out games that you can't even use because they require a keyboard that are on cartridge, but I mean, like I said, they had well, let me put it this way: if you were talking like '88, when J Miner had developed Ranger, and as far as I'm aware, that chipset was completed and was on the shelf and was ready to be burned to. They were way too late. Yeah, that was ready in '88 Ranger, and that would have been another leap forward. And I remember them saying, I think it was '89, they were interviewing. Miner was given a speech, and somebody said to him, "What would be the one thing that you would have done? Is there anything in the original Amiga chipset that you would have changed?" And he said, well, you know, the thing I would have done, because he was quite softly spoken, like, uh, well, you know, the one thing I think we would have done was maybe, we need a chunky mode, you know? We wanted a chunky mode. That's the one thing I didn't think of. And apparently in Ranger, though, he did implement a chunky mode, which, I mean, I still think that the real thing that really did the Amiga in and meant that it lost support was when the first person shooter started coming in, the Amiga didn't have a chunky mode. And if the you know, if they hadn't a successor to the, well, if they had Ranger in what was the 3000, well, they already had the AAA set earmarked for that. So if they'd had Ranger or the AAA set, then it would have been in a different, we would have been in a different ballpark still. But they let everybody. The Amiga didn't develop between '85 and the end of the Amiga. It had a minor revision, basically 2 minor revisions in the chipset, and they were making dafter and dafter decisions. The I think if when CD came, it was already showing up because they didn't have the power. They should have been the platform that had the power to exploit the CD medium, and they didn't. If the GS came out alongside the C64C as a cut price version with the aid and goodwill of the software houses, back might have worked. I thought the 16K or Max 32 car options. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and the other problem with the C64 is that with it, I mean, it's different to a cartridge system on the say like on the VIC-20. I mean, as far as I'm aware, what the VIC-20 came with 4K of RAM, and but it's actually got address space of 64K. I think I'm right in saying that. So if you plug a cartridge in, it would map that cartridge to somewhere in that 64K, or it might be 32K. It's got address. I think it's 64K actual address space. So it'll map it somewhere into that. As far as I'm aware, the C64, if you plug a cartridge into it, and I could be wrong, but if you plug a cartridge into it, I think that maps that. I think that's like that can only address 64K in total. And if you plug in a cartridge, like I say, I could be wrong, but I think it maps into usable memory space. I don't know if that's right. I think it maps into usable memory space. So I think you effectively limit the amount of memory that you can actually address. And I don't know if that's why you had the 16 or 32K limit. Yes, for example, the cartridge space in any Ocean game is 32K total due to the cost of the ROMs. Right. I mean, I guess you could always bank switch, but if you're using memory to map the cartridge, yeah, I guess there's little advantage on a apart from the loading speed, but on the VIC-20 it made sense because you could actually use it as an additional memory space, and you could access straight from the ROMs. Whereas on the Commodore 64, if you were mapping it into ROM memory, into that area, and it was actually reducing the amount of memory you had available to use for the program, you don't gain any you don't gain any memory advantage by doing it, by having the data available on fast access chips, I guess, is what I'm trying to get my head around. So potentially, if they'd say kludged it so that it could address with bank switching or whatever, it could address a wider. Could you even do it with bank switching? I don't think you could really. It wouldn't really be practical, would it? You'd have to be very complicated to code. It couldn't have worked, basically. Right. Yeah, but yeah, you can do it at the time. You can do it at the time. I mean, I remember looking at it when it came out and saying, "Well, that's ridiculous." I mean, it looks well. It's a. I think the bottom of the case is a C64 case, isn't it? It's only the top is even a new piece of the case, and it just looked like a C64 that had the top taken off and a thing put across the top. And it is a C64 motherboard as well, isn't it? As far as I'm aware. As far as I'm aware, if you open it up and you took that motherboard out and shoved it in a C64 and connected it, were able to connect all the ports. Yeah, it's just a C64. So where have they saved the money? You know, on the tape drive and the keyboard. Well, what was the price of the tape mechanism and the keyboard at that time? And it was old. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was old hardware, wasn't it? You know. They were trying to jump on board the. Excuse me, scratching my nose. They were trying to get on board the Nintendo thing that was starting to happen, and keyboard sockets. Well, and I'm guessing you can just hardwire that anyway. I'm trying to think if I ever saw one in the flesh. I don't think I did. I know they're quite rare now, probably because they sold so few. There'll be a warehouse somewhere full of the bloody thing. Yeah, they sold it. Yeah. I mean, even if they based it on the 128, that would have made more sense. If they build it on the 128, then you'd have more RAM space, more address space. He's lost it. Oh dear. Base it on the 128. You've got more capabilities, more address space. You could potentially make a console that would look somewhere between a Nintendo and a SNES. Maybe more like a Mega Drive, and then get people to write games that take advantage of it. But then I think by then they thought, well, we're not going to spend any more money researching things that we're not going to use. But then all those Commodore machines, I mean, they designed so many machines that they just never sold. And I was watching. I think it was. I can't think of the name of the developer now. It's the guy who brought in Dave Haney. Or it might have been. It might actually have been David Pleasance. One of those. One of them was saying that they developed this machine, and it was a fabled machine, and it was all ready and it was all set up for production. I think it was one of the versions of the Plus 4 or something. It's something that progressed from the Plus 4, and the machine was all done, developed, and the only reason it didn't go to market was because Commodore operated a system where the machines were there, they added it to a catalogue, and then it was up to the international subsidiaries whether or not they ordered them. And nobody ordered them. Not anyone from any country said, "Oh yeah, this is a machine once, we'll order it." Yeah. The Amiga was already 5 years old when it came out. Commodore should have made an Amiga console back when they launched the 500, and they would have made a killing. It would have been the first 16-bit console. It's hard watching Commodore at the end. They made such incredible machines at the end. They were definition too little too late. Yeah. I don't think an Amiga console would have worked, to be honest, if they'd done it at the same time as the 500. And I don't think the cost benefit is worth it, because the two fundamental problems you've got are that first of all, we weren't a console market. I was talking about the 1292 programmable system that I'm going to be doing a video on soon, just before you came, Leo, and that was probably the most popular. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the most popular console we had in this country. Maybe the Mega Drive, the Master System. Nintendo didn't really work that well, but the games were not very well. They weren't hugely expensive, but not incredibly expensive. But what wouldn't have worked, I don't think, is if you release a console, and this was one of the problems with the game of the Commodore 60. One of the reasons it was doomed from the start. But if you release a console version of a computer, well, you're still going to get the same games on the Amiga. I mean, there's going to be nothing they release on cartridge that isn't going to come out on floppy disk. But the cartridge is probably going to cost you another, another £20 on top of what the disc-based game is going to cost you, because obviously you've got the cost of the hardware, whereas you're not going to get that with the Amiga, and you've got the piracy thing, so people are going to be getting games that they could potentially have bought on the console for, probably would have been 40, 50 quid, because games were ridiculously expensive on cartridge at that point. And also we weren't a console market, we were a computer market, and I think it's more likely if you said to someone, right, do you want to buy a console machine, an Amiga console machine, the full Amiga machine with a keyboard, or do you want to buy a Spectrum or a C64 with a keyboard? I've got a feeling the sales would have gone towards the C64 and the Spectrum, or the full Amiga, rather than a console Amiga. Don't think it could have worked unless they sold that console Amiga to a specific market where they knew they were not going to sell the computer machines, and they gave the option of the keyboards, but that never really seems to work. And I would have said that the market to do that would have been Japan, and they might have had something. They might have had something work in Japan, but possibly the US, but I don't think so. Really, I think Japan would have been the market. They might have had a fighting chance there. That might have appealed to developers. And what you might have found is that developers would make games for the UK market, the European market, and then as disc releases, put the disc releases out, wait for the bug reports to come in, and then issue the cartridge version in Japan, where I'm guessing they wouldn't have had quite a scene there. But as you say, Leo, you always mourn Commodore. Despite owning many machines over the years, you always come back to them. Sid and Paula can make you cry. Sid and Paula together. We could make a comic strip of that. Sid and Paula. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll write a story one day with a Sid and a Paula in it. Two musicians. Yeah, I mean, I was just, before you came, I was saying I thought the 1200 should have had, if not 16-bit sound, it should have had 2 Paula chips, so that you could maintain full compatibility with the old software, well, as much as you could maintain, but you have the extra, I don't know how you address, I don't know how in the hardware how you address the channels, but I'm guessing if there was room, for which I'm guessing it's 2 bits for each channel, but if they could add redundant bits, I guess you could do it in pairs to access the other 4. That would have been quite compatible. And I was thinking about another way. Oh yeah, the other thing I was thinking was that if they'd just added a instead of doing another Paula, if they'd added a 16-bit 2-channel chip, so that and have it all clocked off the same crystal, so that it would all run in sync without any drift. Then that way you could have got that critical extra 2 channels, but I guess you would have had to have run it in a locked off mode then. That could have been really interesting actually, because then you would have needed to have done yeah, that might not have worked actually. I've not thought about that, because then you probably couldn't do the variable you couldn't have done the variable frequency rates on that. So they probably would have wanted to manufacture their own chip, which they could have done. I mean, it's ridiculous when you think about it, because they had their own chip fabrication place. And I mean, if you ever read the excuse me, if you ever read the any of the interviews, see the interviews, I mean, these chip fabrication guys, like guys like David Haney, were having to go down and sort of coax chips out of these guys sometimes. And they had their own production. It's madness. They had their own production facility, and they never upgraded the Paula chip. But yeah, I mean, they could have in theory taken a stock chip from somewhere and just stuck it straight in the Amiga, and I guess it would have had to have been locked at 44.1 or something, and they could just use that for as additional channels that you would have to either, if you wanted to do tracker stuff, I guess you would have had to I don't know how they could have controlled the playback rate. They would have had to have software mixed the other channels, so maybe that wouldn't have worked. But it might have been an option. Then you could just. So I guess I mean I was thinking, you could have used that for like CD playback, but I guess there wouldn't have been much advantage over just playing them straight from CD, apart from synchronization and stuff. Maybe on things where you've got speech it might have worked, but then quality might not have been so. No, that's a bit maybe a 4-channel Paula, additional 4-channel Paula would have been better, or a 16-bit Paula with another 4 channels. Just think that I think they missed a big trick not going 8-bit sound. I mean, they could always have stuck another Paula in and then done the 14-bit trick. Has my chat crashed? Your last message post was over 2 minutes ago. Don't think it has. Are you definitely running in time with the video? Ah, I can see it. Hang on. Yeah, okay, I can see it. I'll just read that, because if I let it through, I think it's gonna mark the channel. So it says, yeah, the Yanks can push right off for a £20 budget NES game. Let's say plop you. I've got a C64 a game for £1.99 down wall. This will do me fine. Was what Jonas wrote, but it got picked up by the filter, and I would have let it go. I'm not a prude. I would have let it through, but it could potentially. I can't see what I'm doing. I'm getting old man. I'm looking over my glasses. It could potentially. I've been told things like that can potentially mark the channel. So yeah. Yeah, I would have, as a music person, I would have liked to have seen. Well, I'll tell you the thing, and I'm going to put it in this video. Absolute, ridiculous own goal. This isn't hard. This isn't hard. What I'm going to say. This would have been the easiest thing to do. After you have the thing with it, the Atari ST has absolutely rubbish sound. The sound on that machine is terrible, and I don't care what anyone says, even when they added the new sound chips or whatever, it is rubbish. How that machine became known as the music machine is utter madness, and the software was better on the Amiga as well. The one thing they did, the one bit of amazing foresight, as my nose itches again, the one bit of amazing foresight they had was to stick a MIDI interface socket on it. And how much hardware does it take? Almost no hardware. You need the sockets, and I think you've got at most one IC sitting between maybe a couple of resistors. But if it's built into the machine, I don't think you even need to do that. I think you can pretty much go straight off of the the main hardware off the board. So why after it went on and everyone was going, oh, they had all that, they first of all they should have put it in the 2000, which they didn't. Okay, they should have put it on the 500 probably. I can understand why not. But for 1200, they should have put a built-in MIDI interface. Absolutely, yeah. Same Yamaha chip as the CPC and Spec 128. Yeah, yes, due to the MIDI socket. Exactly. Absolute madness that they did not. Somebody should have said, in marketing, should have said, whatever you do, stick a MIDI interface on it. And if they'd done that, the next thing they could have done, they could have said was, okay, even if they didn't put the another sound chip in it, at least they could have said, you can buy this module, it plugs into the MIDI interface, and it will give you. We've now got standards. People know where it is in memory. You can pay. You can buy either a third-party one, or we do an attachment that gives you more sounds, so that you get more music. Blah blah blah. Was cheap, and Commodore probably didn't realise it was a priority. Well, yeah, but they should have done. It should have been obvious when the ST came out. As soon as the ST came out, they should have thought, whatever we do from now on, we have to put MIDI interfaces on our machines. And it's what the connectors are DIN connectors, standard DIN connectors. They don't wire like standard DIN, but we're talking. I'm pretty sure you can drive it straight off of the. I think you maybe a tiny bit of buffering is required. I think generally speaking though you don't. I think you can drive it directly from the CIA chips or whatever it is, the Amiga hardware. So it would have been pretty much the cost of the connectors and the cost of the molding, which is, you know, yeah, go for it, mate. I'm not going to be streaming for too much longer, but go for it, pal. That is infuriating. Because I mean, it wasn't a big attachment. You know, the thing was, it cost you 20 quid to put it on, but then you could have said out of the box, you could have done bundle. When you keep in mind that in the past they did a Commodore 64 bundle that came with a plastic keyboard that stuck over the top of your existing keyboard to play music on, which is a stupid idea. You would have thought someone would have said this machine has to have a MIDI interface, or it come out of the box with an attachment of a MIDI interface. What was it I was thinking a while ago? I was looking at this slot, and I was thinking, I know what that's meant for. In fact, I know I've wrote a script somewhere for this video to see. I'm wondering what adapter would it. I mean, but look, there's room there. Could have put the MIDI sockets there. Wouldn't surprise me if they. What I think was meant to go there, and I don't know if there's ever been an official reason. Yeah, yeah, Paula doesn't know, but then it's not driven by Paula, is it? It's driven by the serial hardware. It's driven by the CPU, and it's not. it's not much. I mean, you don't need to worry about pooling there in it because you code for it. So there are games. There are games. I think one of the Kings. Do we have King's Quest on the Amiga? Maybe I'm confused. Maybe it's might be Leisure Suit Larry. I think one of the Leisure Suit Larry games supports the PC MIDI music is in it, and it will support a MIDI adapter. But I've always thought, I don't know if I can open this. Yeah, I reckon that probably wasn't MIDI, but I reckon that originally was going to be a socket for a CD add-on. It is the full size, and I suspect that at some point that came in. They said, "Oh, it doesn't matter because we can do the CD from elsewhere on the system, so we'll put this in here." And I reckon very late in the day they realised that they weren't going to be able to do. And I did think it all through what the problem would have been. Probably the problem was at the point they were designing the CD32 and they realised that their Akiko chip wasn't going to be supported across whatever socket they put in there. And then you've got that clock port that nobody supported at the time the Amiga was actually being made. Nobody seemed to really know about it, and it seems to be one of the most powerful ports in the whole machine. It's about 4 pins, isn't it? Posse. I mean, MIDI is. I mean, I don't think MIDI music would necessarily have helped the Amiga a huge amount on game. Although it would have been good for developers as well, because everyone was developing for MIDI at that point. But if they'd supported that, it would have been useful to add a few extra voices. But yeah, ideally they would have either stuck another pooler in, or they would have had a second pooler that had. Well, if they'd done a pooler that another pooler, then they could have said, "Oh, it supports 14-bit audio in certain circumstances," because you could double up two sets of channels or whatever. In fact, you probably could have supported. You probably could have done full 16-bit that way, because you could have had more voices, but you'd lose a lot of channels. Although, having said that, pooler isn't very accurate at I'm going to have to do that. That's another video. I'm getting loads of ideas for videos here. I don't know if it would have replaced them all. Thing is, I think that the point at which the STs were getting properly replaced. I mean, the thing is, the ST. I think the reason that the ST started to get placed quite well, I think the use it was put to was when people were starting to move away from the Fairlight sequencers, which had all kinds of screen interfaces, which were a bit, well, there was nothing wrong with them, but they were very early and they had like early touch screens and stuff like that. And when they started moving, I think that's when they had that interface. It was a cheaper way to do Fairlight with MIDI devices. There's kinds of things you could do with the Fairlight and the sequencing and stuff. And there were people using Amigas. I mean, as far as I'm aware, Dave Stewart was using Bar and Pipes Pro, and a few other people were using Amigas. But the thing is, once you're using something, it's very unusual in a music studio to change it unless there is a major new feature or technology you require. And you certainly don't change platforms in a hurry with computers. They prefer to use a computer screen than a small matrix on the Korg. Yeah, I guess that's right. I mean, yeah, it was a I couldn't have seen the STs once they were sort of in. I could see new studios using Amigas, but I couldn't see them chucking out the STs because that's what they've been using, and it wouldn't have offered enough unless there was something that only came out on Amiga that did something. And I think the first point at which the STs were properly getting chucked out was when people started moving to hard disk solutions. Maybe when DATs were really properly coming in with recording. If the Amiga launched with the MIDI with a 500 footprint through its sample abilities, it excelled. Yeah. Well, yeah. I think. I mean, like, say if you take someone like a band like Depeche Mode. Now, I was reading a while ago. I think it was Depeche Mode that when they dug out the Depeche Mode masters, there was something wrong with them. They tried to do a reissue program. There's something wrong with them, and they, like they were working from safety masters, whatever, and it wasn't up to it. So they said, well, we can try and remix. And when they went to the multi tracks, what they hadn't realised was that the multi tracks didn't have all of the audio on there, and I think what they had was they had a lot of audio, but they didn't have some of the synthesizers. And I think, as if I remember correctly, one of the audio tracks on the multi-track was used for MIDI data or electronic data or something like that, and they ended up getting the original hardware and actually re-recording the sound to produce a digital multi-track that included the actual instruments. They played them back through the instruments again down the line. Now it made me think that if they had Amigas, even with the 8-bit output, and this is where you think, well, the obvious thing to have done with the 3000 was to put it out with 16-bit output so it worked in music applications. It would have made it an incredibly powerful machine. When you're thinking about the video toaster and stuff like that being available, if you're not just doing the video aspects but you're doing the full sound aspects, you're solving a lot of problems. I mean, although in theory I guess it could output, I don't know, could it output digital sound across a, I guess there wouldn't have been a digital standard then, would there? Well, I guess it was just mixing input levels and it was pass through. So, but if they'd had an Amiga 3000 with 16-bit sound, maybe 20-bit, take a bit, know your presets so you can set it on anything. Well, I don't really know my way around synthesizers. I look for a nice preset. It's easier now with these emulated synthesizers and digital synthesizers. You just look for a preset that sounds like you like. You might tweak it a little bit, but I can't be bothered figuring out LFO, GFO, blah blah blah, oscillator this, oscillator that. It's all hard work, isn't it? But yeah, I could see a band like Depeche Mode wouldn't have minded using the Amiga sound capability built in with that MIDI stuff to keep it all in sync, particularly when people start building home studios. But if they'd done a 16, they should have done a 16-bit sound Amiga. They really should have, and they should have done one with more voices. Yeah. They did a gig together. John left them with these custom presets for Oxygen and quality. Right, no worries, Jonas. Thanks for joining. I'm going to be winding up this stream pretty shortly as well because I'm starting to fall asleep now. Not due to the company, I'll add, but because I'm sliding off the screen because I'm a little bit tired. So thanks for joining us, Jonas, mate. Very much appreciated. and thanks for hitting the like button. Again, very much appreciated. And yeah, look at me. I'm now sort of getting to the point of thinking, oh, I could do with a little lie down here. I need to do my washing up as well. What? I am hit by a yawn. You can't, excuse me. Yeah, take it easy, mate. I don't know if I'm going to be streaming on Sunday. We'll see what happens. If I am, it'll probably be quite short on Sunday. I've got a couple of things I might need to do on Sunday, so we shall see. We shall see. If I am available on Sunday, I might well draw a picture or something. Oh, he's worked it out. Yeah, but the thing is, I don't know how to do it now. The first time I streamed when they had that function, I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't realise. It said to me, "Oh, your stream is saved," but I can't get it back. Now it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me because I can see it in the thing, and I'm watching it all the time, not like him playing games. So it's preserved, but I don't know how to get it back. I don't know how to get it back when you play it back. I think they brought it in and went. What he really needs to master is not to delete his own streams. But I was going to suggest to him, and you might be better placed to put him in the picture on this. But he, you don't know the back end, right? Well, he might want to consider using the Streamlabs phone application, because I think it will let him set up something a bit more. Which one am I pointing? This way. I think it will let him set up something a bit more like this. I'm not entirely sure how much like that. Probably quite similar. But yeah, the Streamlabs app's supposed to be quite powerful, so I haven't actually tried it. I'm using Streamlabs version of OBS, Open Broadcaster System, at the minute that I've been testing a little bit, and I have a hunch that he might get what he's looking for with that, so I might drop him a message actually. When I did it, I sent him the video for Bruce Lee, and I know he's got it because he mentioned he has, but he never told me if it was any use to him, so I don't know if I'll bother, but I might drop him a line. Yeah, there's not much I can do about that lag. I think it updates quite regularly on Restream, and I think it's probably partly to do with the buffering on the channel. And at the minute I've got the buffer set to the second lowest, and I need to test just to see what actually, if I set it to the lowest lag, what the compromises are. I'm a little bit wary of setting it any lower than it is. I think the last time I checked it was about 11 seconds, the difference between it appearing on the screen and me doing it. But if you go to the super low lag, it's not really recommended, and it disables a few features. And what I don't want to do is enable it and say don't have the stream recording working on YouTube's end, because it's going to snooker me. I think it does work. It just switches off the ability to wind back through the stream while you're going live. So I don't know. I'll have to have a think about it. I'm actually pushing this out at quite a high bandwidth as well, this at the minute, which is ridiculous because there's not much happening. I mean, I can stay perfectly still and it's chucking out 4,203 kilobits per second. Oh, which video is it you need? The 552? I've got the 552 that I downloaded straight from YouTube. That's all I've got. It's the same as that's on YouTube. And I've got But if it's the ghost one you need, I can send that across to you. Oh, I can give you the link if I remember where I put it. $5.56 second place. Live run. Yeah, I can give it. So it's just the yeah, I'll send you. I can. Yeah, I can upload it. If it's the one that's just the straight 5 that doesn't have the ghost on it, then I can send you that. And then there's the one that's I've got one. But all I'll be doing is downloading it off of the. It's just the same the downloaded version. I just have to remember what I've done with it. This go here. Anyway, I'm actually starting to shut down now, so I can feel my eyes slightly getting heavier, and I don't want to do what I did the other week or the other day when I was asleep on my stream. I was just talking in my sleep on the stream, so don't forget to hit the like button, by the way, Leo, if you haven't hit the button already. Yes. Yeah, do you want yeah, if you want the comparison one, I can give that to you, but I've got yeah, I'll sort it out for you. I'll sort it out. I'll just sort them all out and then I'll upload it and I'll let you know when it's sorted out. Although I still don't think I can see yeah, we'll sort it out. I'll sort it out for you. No worries. Yeah. Hang on, my brain's seizing up. So you want the one that's the actual ghost one? The one that's got the 522? Okay. Okay. Right. So you want the... Oh, I'm muddling myself up here. You want the 556 run unmodified, no changes made to it. I can't remember where I got the 556 from. Or did it, am I the only one that's got that? He might have sent it direct. I think he did send it to me. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've got that file. I'll figure out where it is, and I'll sort it out for you. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Well, on that note, I think we're going to wind this up for tonight because we've just gone over 3 hours. Leave it with me. I'll figure it out for you. No worries. I'll sort it out. Ah, yeah, because he said it. I think he said it to private, didn't he? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, well, I've just gone over 3 hours, so it's been a rather interesting stream. Thank you for joining me, Leo, and Patrick, who's not Paul Furlong. Right, no worries, I'll sort it out for you. Thank you, Patrick, thank you. Jonas, thank you, Leo, and all the other people that have fleetingly joined us. I'm gonna, yeah, cheers, man. I'm gonna wind it up now. Thank you very much for joining us, pal. Yeah, I might do a stream. I will almost definitely come and watch a bit of Zeus's. And we'll see what I'm doing on Sunday. I've got a few things I've got to take care of on Sunday. Few things to take care of, know what I mean? But I'll probably do another live stream before then, so we'll see what happens, because I do like doing loads around. Oh, thank you for the like, appreciate that. And I'll catch you later, man. Take care. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hit the end stream button, which is around here. Hush, what